Hi students of the Civil War, Professor Haas here for week 6. I thought I might take a couple minutes just to go over some of the housekeeping issues that I've had this week and answer some of the questions that you emailed me about. The first thing that I've noticed is people were curious about when their grades were going to be posted for probably the past 2 discussion boards. I have read them, I have graded them, but I haven't posted them yet to the Blackboard site. So hopefully this week all of the grades will be updated so that there won't be any more issues with you not knowing what your grades are. Additionally, I've received the majority of your papers, and this week I will also be grading those papers and getting back to you the grades via Blackboard. If you would notice on the right-hand tab, the Assignments tab, I've also posted 2 additional papers. One is the assignment number 2, which is a paper that you can actually write already because we've done the reading and we've talked about a lot of the information already. So even though that paper is not due for another 2 weeks, you can get that paper completed early if you have the time. The other paper is due at the end of July, and that is the film review. So if you wanted to get an early start on the film review, it also is available to you. There is going to be a time next week when I give a short lecture about different aspects of how directors make films and what type of historical elements they use in order to recreate history. And so you can start writing your paper. If you want to wait till next week, you can also see my lecture and add that information into your paper. So either way, you can get a head start on 2 assignments before you get backed up maybe with other classes. I will say this week there is a lot of reading. Because there's a lot of reading, that's why I moved the paper back a week initially in the course syllabus. So at the end of this week, next week, it's only going to be 2 chapters to read. So between now and next week, it's 5 chapters, about 150 pages. So if you want to get a head start on the paper, it might be a good idea to start now. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this coming week, what are we going to be looking at in the reading? Well, the first thing we're going to look at is the change from sort of a pre-war, I might even call it, before we actually get into extreme fighting and high casualties. So Fort Sumter, the Baltimore riots, these are events that are going to precede actual major military conflict. Not saying that those lives are any less important, but the impact of the Battle of Bull Run, the Battle of Shiloh, which we're going to be reading about, just changed the whole nature of war from small scale to large scale, from a short-term 90-day war to a long-term 5-year war. The other issue that's going to be talked about in the book is war on the water, and that's why I titled this week Water Wars. And the first section of War on the Water is going to focus on the Atlantic theater. So fighting going on around the Atlantic coast and the Gulf of Mexico in order to secure the southern ports. And you're also going to read about blockade runners that broke those blockades that actually got supplies to the south. The other aspect of water wars is the seizure of the Mississippi River. So next week, we're going to look at the attempts from the Union to seize Louisiana and to move north to move all the way towards Tennessee. This week, we're looking at the move south to go from Kentucky through Tennessee all the way down to Memphis. The efforts led by none other than Ulysses S. Grant, who will soon become the most famous name in the Union. You'll also be looking at the origins of McClellan, George McClellan, as leader of the Army of the Potomac, and how he assumes power but is very cautious. So we're going to be setting up these 3 different fronts to the war: the Atlantic, the seafront, the eastern, led by McClellan in Virginia versus Lee for most of the war, and Grant fighting in the Kentucky-Tennessee Western theater with famous names like Braxton Bragg. If you have any questions, please let me know this week, and I'll be hopefully updating your grades and checking in on your postings for this week. Until next week, I hope that you enjoy the chapters. I hope you like the YouTube videos that I've been selecting for you, and I will see you next week.